later, in the streets of Mexico, two young couples watch as a young woman teleports and falls under a bridge. They try to help her, but police officers stop them. The young woman fights off the cops and takes the clothes of a bride and groom. This young woman, named Grace, has come from the future to protect a girl named Dani at all costs. Dani is the breadwinner of her family, but she struggles to make ends meet. She goes home to take her brother to work and reminds her dad to take his medicine. Not long after they leave, the Red 9 Terminator teleports into Dani's home. It seems like a normal day as Dani and her brother start their work. However, Dani's brother has been replaced by a machine. Dani tells her brother to wait and take her place while she meets the manager. Meanwhile, Grace arrives at Dani's workplace, fights a security guard, and puts on his uniform. The Red 9 Terminator shows up disguised as Dani's father, asking for Dani and her brother. He is told he needs to wear a company jacket to get in. When he finally sees Dani and is about to shoot her, Grace steps in and shoots him until he is unconscious. They quickly run for their lives, but the Terminator comes after them again. This time, Grace uses a machine to slam him and slow him down. They steal a truck, but as they try to escape the company compound, the police chase them. Suddenly, the K9 Terminator breaks through a wall with a bulldozer and goes after them. After a long chase, the Terminator cuts the truck's tire, causing an accident. Unfortunately, Diego, one of the characters, is seriously injured, and the Terminator finishes him off by crashing into the truck. The Terminator wakes up again, but this time he splits into two. Just as he gets closer, Sarah Connor, a former military officer, appears out of nowhere. She uses her gun and explosives to temporarily take down the K9 Terminator. As she searches for parts of the K9, Grace and Dani drive away. On their way, Dani suggests going back to her father's house, but Grace insists that it's not safe. She explains that whenever the K9 takes on another person's form, he kills that person first. Soon, Grace starts to feel weak because she was stabbed and needs a special drug to recover. Dani drives to a nearby pharmacy where she quickly takes an anticonvulsant and some other medication. After taking the drugs, Dani passes out and Sarah catches up with them. She helps Grace and they all go to a motel to hide for a while. Sarah tells Dani that she is wanted in over 50 countries and avoids using devices to stay off the radar. Dani cries, feeling that no one will be there to bury her brother or father. Later, Dani wakes up and threatens Sarah with a gun, demanding to know who she is and how she knows about the Terminator. After the death of her son, John, Sarah explains that many Terminators have been appearing. Despite being in different places, she has found a way to track them. Sarah warns Dani that it's not just her who is in danger. The entire world is at risk. An AI called the Legion threatens humanity. Originally created for war, it has now been turned against mankind due to the evil intentions of humans. The Legion was built to hunt down human survivors and eliminate them. These survivors later formed a group called the Resistance, which was obligated to fight against the Legions. All of this was destined to happen in the future, and Dani's fate was intertwined with it. Grace later traced one of the Terminators to Texas, and they set off on their journey. The K9 Terminator arrived at the Rathium data center to locate Dani and her crew. He was able to determine their destination and set off immediately. Dani and her crew arrived at her uncle's house to seek help in crossing the border. He was initially reluctant until Dani revealed that a machine was after her, responsible for the deaths of her father and brother. The K9 used a female body to infiltrate operations and conduct aerial surveillance, killing 3 officers in the process. He utilized a satellite drone to locate Dani, Grace, Sarah, and her uncle. Just as they were about to cross the border, they were arrested. As they were being placed in a vehicle, the K9 fired a missile at them. Disguised as an officer, the K9 Terminator arrived at the station to pick up Dani. However, before he could reach her, Dani and Grace had already come to her rescue. The K9 was close to boarding a helicopter when Sarah shot at him with her gun. Upon arriving in Texas, Sarah was shocked to discover that the Terminator who had killed her son, John, at the beginning of the movie was there. He explained that he had a wife who left her husband because he wanted to kill her and their son. He took them in and made her his wife. Over the 20 years he had spent on Earth, he learned to love and felt anger at himself for killing John. The Terminator, named Carl, informed them that there were still soldiers out there, and he wanted to join them to take down the K9 Terminator. Sarah declined, stating she could not partner with the same person who had killed her son. However, Dani insisted that they needed Carl's help to defeat the K9. Grace then pointed out that they would need firepower for a successful mission. Carl showed them where he had stored weapons for ages in case of an attack on his family. Afterward, they taught Dani how to shoot. Before leaving, Carl said goodbye to his family, who had to leave for their safety. It wasn't long before the K9 arrived at Carl's home, finding no one there, only pictures of Carl and his family. The group later met with an army major to collect an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, strong enough to disable a K9 Terminator. Soon after, the K9 arrived in a helicopter and began shooting from a distance. They quickly got back into the bus, but the major was already injured. While driving, the major called for backup to slow down the K9 Terminator. However, it wasn't enough, as the K9 continued to fire. They finally escaped using a stolen army plane. Grace explained why it was crucial for Dani to survive. She was destined to be the commander of the resistance, which would ultimately bring an end to the Legion. If Dani failed to survive, there would be little chance of defeating the legions. While they were discussing their plans, the K9 Terminator stealthily made Seven his way onto their plane with swift, calculated movements. Carl engaged him in a fight as the plane began to crash, giving Dani, Grace, and Sarah the opportunity to escape using an armored vehicle equipped with a parachute. Carl and the K9 fought fiercely until they ended up underwater, with the K9 believing he had killed Carl. It seemed almost impossible to escape the K9, but just as he spotted Grace and her group, Carl re-emerged to confront him. As they rush inside the plant, the K9 Terminator is hot on their heels. Instead of running away, Dani decides to stay and devise a plan to eliminate the K9 for good. One by one, they confront the K9, but he keeps targeting Dani. In a desperate move, they manage to force the Terminator into a spinning turbine, resulting in a massive explosion. This blast not only affects the K9, but also critically injures Carl and Grace. While Dani is focused on helping Grace, the K9 Terminator rises again, albeit heavily damaged. Grace urges Dani to access her power source and use it to defeat the K9. Dani engages in a fierce battle with the K9, but she struggles to overpower him. Just when it seems hopeless, Carl regains consciousness and leaps into action, attacking the K9. This distraction gives Dani the chance she needs to stab the K9 with Grace's power source. Before the power source can detonate, Carl takes a bold step and jumps off the edge with the K9, resulting in a massive explosion that obliterates both Terminators. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe to our channel for more epic content.